Hey friends, welcome back. Today we're tackling some serious kitchen cleaning and there's so much packed into this video. I'm starting with the dishes. Lots of dishes, as always. And then I'm sharing a quick Walmart haul so you can see what we buy on a regular random day. Before diving back into organizing and putting some things away, you'll see me setting up my new knife set, cleaning the stove and coffee bar, and even rescuing my old ice maker with a satisfying deep clean. And stick around for some meatloaf making and a fun little moment with Max the kitten. And that all starts right now. This video ended up being divided up into 3 separate days. I started this a few days ago and ended up having my son Corey pop up, so I shut the video camera down, and there were just other things in between that got in the way of me putting this out, so I just added to it, and unfortunately this ended up being a fairly long video, even with a lot of the parts cut out and sped up. It mentions in the intro that it shows the deep cleaning on the ice maker. Unfortunately, some of that footage was lost. My camera battery completely died, so I was not able to get that in here. But I will tell you that there is, at the end of this video, it tells how I did it. So if you have an ice maker that's portable like mine or similar, you could do the same if you're having issues with mold showing up, which most likely you probably will eventually. So I'm getting these dishes washed here, which is typical for any day for me. You all know that. And what else did I want to tell you guys? If you are on my Facebook page, which if you are not, the link is in the description box below, you know that I mentioned we have a new blog. We have had a blog all along. I was running it on a Google hosted free blogger with a domain name attached to it, but I was actually able to buy a domain name with my actual last name in it and swooped it up, and I also set it up on my own hosting so that I have better control of the blog and what is on it and how it is arranged on there. So if you have not checked out the new blog, you would want to go to mrsgove.com, which is mrsgove.com. And that will bring you directly to my blog, where I post a lot of articles with helpful tips, and obviously I link up to the newer videos. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go right ahead. I will also be linking that up in the description box below as well. I accidentally recorded this without sound, so I'm going to do my best to voice it over for you. First thing we bought was Frisky's Surf and Turf and Favorites for the cats. It is their favorite cat food. Also, we found some Rayovac rechargeable batteries for $6 clearance. My coffee was finally back in the 100 count. We definitely had to buy one of those. And sweet cream style corn. Greg wanted it to go with dinner. Toilet paper, goes without saying, apple cider vinegar, cinnamon, ginger root, Vision Formula 50, and probiotic gummies, and last but not least, salmon oil. All dietary supplements that Greg is sure makes a big difference. Crunchy, creamy cat treats, because cats my half and half, and a ham for 10, nope, it was almost $11 off, 21.25, and I still have some of that in the fridge, and a loaf of bread. And that was all on this day for the haul. Just a regular, normal day. For those of you that have followed me for a while, you can see that I still obviously have the contact paper that I picked out in my cabinet. I absolutely love it. And I do love the backsplash contact paper. I will say I don't miss any of the contact paper on the counter, and I am glad that I decided to listen to some of you and to get rid of it. The actual countertop actually for me looks fine until eventually I pick something else out, which I may go on to something that's on the gray scale a little bit, but for now I'm quite happy with the countertop that's here. I'm cleaning my wooden cutting board with Dawn Dish soap, and I decided to add a couple drops of lemon essential oil. Now, whether that made any big difference with the cleaning or not, I honestly have no idea. It just seemed in the moment like a good idea to me, so that's what I did. It certainly did smell good while I was cleaning it, and I rinsed it all off really well. Have you ever seen something and just instantly liked it even though you knew the quality was not going to be very high? Well, that's this knife set for me. Even though I knew the quality would not be super, super great, I really loved the way that this knife set by Drew Barrymore in her beautiful line looks. And it is good enough for things like cutting up potatoes and just little jobs around the kitchen. And it looks so pretty up on the wall. I do still have my other knife set because I paid quite a good chunk of money for it. And it really just only needs to be sharpened. The blades are having some problems with some chipping and pitting and so forth. But they have not been sharpened up in many years. But like I said about this set, I paid $39 for it from Walmart. It is not anything that is going to last for years and years and years. And I knew that when I bought it. But I do absolutely love the simplicity of her designs and how pretty they look up on the wall. And like I said, they are good for small jobs. But they are not a full tang knife, which means the blade does not run into the handle all the way, and they also are very lightweight. I will say the cutting board that I'm putting on the counter right now, the cutting board is absolutely beautiful. It has like a herringbone or a chevron type design, and it's very, very pretty, and it feels like it will last for quite some time. I've actually gotten rid of all my plastic cutting boards and switched over to wood. And I know, yes, there are debates on whether that's a good idea or not, but I decided to go with wood. Just so we all know, I did not throw this box on the floor the way it is. Max tipped it over and jumped in, and he is having a blast in it. So I figured I would just let him play until he was tired of it, and I would get rid of it later on. And play he did. He really, really enjoyed this box and all the rattly plastic and everything else that was in the box. So he had a grand old time. And here we are some hours later. I'm going to get the stovetop cleaned right up. One of my favorite jobs in the kitchen. Cleaning the stovetop and cleaning the sink. Love both of those chores because I find them to be easy to do and they have a big result at the end, which always looks fantastic. And now I'm just going to get the other knife set put away in its block that I keep in the cabinet underneath the hot chocolate coffee bar. So I'm going to get these all put back in here now that they've been washed and they're dry. What I was trying to show you, but it would not show up on camera, is that the edges of the blades look very chewed up. I do not know why. Probably a little bit of abuse on my part, and probably just the fact that they have not been sharpened in going on, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years. So they are pretty well way past the point of needing to be sharpened, and I cannot wait to get the whetstones so that I can get these sharpened back up and back to cutting the way that they should. And in case you're wondering where I went with them, I'm actually going to store them underneath my coffee bar in the cabinet. There's plenty of room down there for them, and the knife block was already in there anyway, so they're not taking up any extra space that they weren't already taking up to begin with. And the only thing I'm cleaning my stovetop with tonight is water and dish soap and a scrubby sponge, and I'm wiping it up with a wet cloth and just drying it off. It really hasn't gotten too much spilt on it, so it didn't need any real amount of scrubbing or anything extra to get it to come clean. And the same thing with the counters as with the stove, just some water and dish soap to clean the counters with the scrubby side of the sponge for anything that might be stuck on that I can't see, because these countertops do a very good job of hiding crumbs and sticky spots and, you know, all that stuff that shows up when you get a kid in the house. Or just anybody, really. I'm sure a lot of the sticky spots come from me too. But anyway, just a simple cleanup with soap and water, and then rinsing it off with another cloth and drying it off with yet another. It's funny because I think back to when I was a kid, and it was much more common when I was a kid that everybody cleaned with just their dishcloth and some soap and some water, and that was just the common way to clean everything. And if you think about it, there were a lot less people that were sick back then, you know, as it seems like there are now. A lot less stuff going around. I begin to wonder sometimes if we're not chemically over cleaning and just making things worse. Who knows? I mean, it could be anything. Could just be things are changing in the atmosphere or environment. But it's just funny to me how when I was a kid that everybody just seemed to clean the same way. Just a cloth, soap, water, and it was clean. And nowadays we use so many different sprays, which, don't get me wrong, I love all the cleaning concoctions. If there's something new out, you want to bet I'm going to try it, so guilty as charged. But I just got thinking today about how nostalgic it almost seems to clean the countertop with just soap and water, because so often I don't just reach for a cloth and some soap and water. I always reach for a spray bottle and you know, something to wipe it down with. And the truth is, sometimes maybe there's just a little bit too much too often, and it's really good every so often to kind of reset with just some plain old soap and water and a good wipe down. Well, this cutting board has a good use on the counter. It's going to hide the cord for my diffuser. Yay, that cord was just driving me nuts, so that is a win, right? And I'm just going to get my diffuser filled up and running. And I would like to get a diffuser that's a little more, I don't know what I'm looking for. Something that looks like it belongs in the kitchen. Well, maybe it does look like it belongs in the kitchen. It kind of looks like an upside down bowl with a hole in it. So, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get this filled up and running. So, let's talk turkey. Gobble, gobble. I got thinking today, how do you cook your turkey? I know some people do they deep fry it. Some people roast it in a bag. Other people do the traditional roast in a pan. Some people roast without a cover. Some people roast with a cover. Some people do it with tin foil. Some people inject their turkeys with butter. Some people stuff their turkeys. Some people don't. So, if you're having a turkey, how are you going to cook your turkey? I admit I do not stuff my turkey. I never have, because knowing my luck, it would make everybody sick. It probably wouldn't get cooked enough. I do sometimes cut an apple into quarters and put that inside the turkey, or carrots or celery or just whatever I have on hand. But the stuffing is always a separate side. I put butter on top of my turkey, stick some underneath the skin, and season it with the little yellow box of poultry seasoning, salt, pepper, and that is basically it. And I put it in my rectangular roasting pan with no cover. I've never used a cover on my turkey. And I set it at 350, I believe, most of the time, or sometimes even 375. And I cook it until it's done, and it's cooked with luck, hope, and a prayer. And generally, that works out well for me. So that's how I cook my turkey, and let me know in the comments below how you cook yours as well. Now we are going to get to cleaning the sink, and I'm just going to use hot water, dish soap, and a little bit of baking soda as well, because I bought a brand new box the other day and I really just want to use this one up. And baking soda is a great cleaner for the sink. It does a great job, and along with the Dawn, and it cuts grease and does all the things. So if you are looking for something to clean your stainless steel or porcelain sink with, dish soap and baking soda and a scrubby sponge are a great start. It's no secret, I absolutely love the holidays. I have already started listening to Christmas music. I have already started watching Christmas movies. Trev and I watched, it was like a Hallmark type movie about a week ago. And tonight we watched Christmas with the Kranks, which is one of my absolute favorite Christmas movies. What are your favorite Christmas movies or holiday movies that you really, really like? One of the ones that I love for Thanksgiving is a movie called Dutch, and it is about a man who is helping to bring his girlfriend's son home for Thanksgiving, and her son is a real pain, and just he doesn't want to be there. He wants to be with his dad, and just it's a whole thing, and it's a funny movie. There are not tons of Thanksgiving movies that I can think of off the top of my head, but Dutch is like one of the best ones that I know. So if you haven't seen that and you want to find a movie for Thanksgiving, that is a great movie. We try to watch it every year on Thanksgiving. Might be an older sink, but she is beautiful and shiny once again. Now we are on to getting some meatloaf started. I am just going to unthaw this hamburger in the microwave, and a little bit later on in this video I will tell you how I do that. While I'm unthawing it, I am going to get this coffee bar cleaned up. It is a sticky mess, and it is definitely well past needing to be wiped up. I've showed you in past videos the jar a couple times with the sugar in it, with the one with the polka dots that's sort of towards the front with the red cover and the green leaves and the red berries. I don't know if you all realize it or not, but that was actually the jar that had the orange cover. It was similar to a mason jar. I added the polka dots onto it with acrylic paint markers, and I covered the top of the lid with red crafting paper, and I put it on with Mod Podge. The Mod Podge that I used is dishwasher safe, and I let that dry for a couple days, and then I added the leaves and berries, and they are just polymer clay that after they were applied, I put the whole cover in the oven and baked it, and there you have it. No more orange cover, and it's no longer for Thanksgiving, it's for Christmas. So I never did pay for another new sugar bowl. I just changed that one up a little bit to fit in with what I was doing. In this moment, I started smelling what smelled like mildew, and I could not figure out for the life of me where it was coming from. The smell kept sort of coming and going, so I decided I was just going to clean out this container, and I was going to get my whole wheat flour put into this because it had been in the freezer, but I no longer have the amount of freezer space that I had because the hubby and Bella went and bought 4 turkeys. So most of my freezer space is now taken up by turkeys. So I'm just going to clean this out and dry it out really, really well and put my flour in it. And if you see me looking around, it's because that smell has come back again. So I'm smelling everywhere to see if I can figure out where on earth it is coming from. The smell is legitimately driving me crazy, and I'm seriously trying to figure out what it is and why I can smell it. And everything I'm smelling smells fine, so I'm literally just so annoyed because I had just cleaned the sink and everything else, and I'm suddenly smelling this. And bingo, this is where the smell's coming from. When we put the faucet in, we did not have any silicone to put under the plate where the faucet meets up with the sink itself, so water is able to get underneath there. And that is exactly where the smell was coming from. I am spraying it with this stuff is similar to Lysol, and I'm letting it soak up underneath there and just making sure I don't smell the smell coming from anywhere else. And tomorrow I am going to have Trev help me pull this up, unloosen it, and I will run a bead of silicone around and settle it back in and tighten it back up. Because let me tell you, it stunk to high heck, and I don't know why I never smelled it right up until the point where I cleaned the sink up really well. That I must have moved something or did something, and it just, you could smell it through the whole kitchen. Nasty. So I am really working the stuff underneath, trying to get this toothpick underneath as much as I can to pull out anything that's disgusting, and just soaking it with this stuff so that it can kill off any of the bacteria or mildew or whatever the heck is growing under there. And like I said, tomorrow we're going to get it cleaned up and get some silicone under it so that it is no longer a problem. But like I said, it hadn't been a problem right up until just tonight when I cleaned. So I must have moved something somehow, and just whatever happened, it made the smell come out more than ever.
You can make eggnog cake.
I thaw my hamburger out in the microwave, and I do it in increments so that it does not get cooked in the microwave. I'll do it, like the size of hamburger I had tonight. I did 2 minutes. Now I'm breaking off the pieces that are mostly thawed. They might have a few ice crystals in. And whatever I have left, I'll throw in for another 30 seconds, and it'll all be completely thawed enough to use without cooking any of it. I have done it this way for years and years and have never had any problems with it. And this is by no means a meatloaf cooking lesson. My meatloaf is very, very basic, and many people that I know do it very differently. Mine is just at least 80% lean hamburger, 1 egg. I put in some either crackers or panko breadcrumbs or breadcrumbs that are with Italian seasoning. And for seasonings, I just throw in usually garlic, pepper, salt. This time I did put a little bit of meat tenderizer in it, and what else did I put in there? Italian seasoning, I think, because I used plain panko breadcrumbs. I put in a whole onion, and I did have about a half a green pepper that I had chopped up and froze, and I dumped that in there too. Mixed it all up, put it in a pan, baked it on 350 for, it was about an hour, and it was done. And I just, towards the end, I put a little ketchup on the top, spread it around, and put it back in the oven for about 10 minutes, and that's it. I do not put any Worcestershire sauce in it or really anything overly special. My recipe, or my vague recipe, is just something very, very simple. What are you doing?
Me.
Yeah, you. What are you doing?
I need a cat carrier.
For what?
Move the cat over to this apartment.
Are you going to bring it back
Yeah.
tonight?
Yeah.
Then go ahead and borrow it off the porch. But I need it back because I take Mocha to the vet all the time.
Feel it when I walk in.
I bet you could.
I love you.
I love you too. And yes, this is a fairly large meatloaf. I made a lot so that I could have leftovers for a couple of days. So that is why I made such a huge amount for just the 4 of us. I am just going to get this laundry area straightened out and cleaned up. I'm getting everything picked up off the floor that got knocked down when I was pulling clothes out to wash. This rug once again needs to be washed. And just getting everything up off the floor so that I can sweep. But of course the portion of this video where I swept, my camera died and I did not record that because it simply just does not exist anymore. For those of you who don't know what this is a mat for a cutting machine that cuts vinyl, paper, cloth, all kinds of different things. And it's sticky. Well, I got paper stuck to it that I had set down on top of it on the dryer and it wouldn't come off by just trying to peel it off. It's easier to wet it, let it sit, and then just lightly scrape it off and it comes right off. And then you dry it and it goes back to being sticky. And you can usually do this a few times before it actually loses its stickiness. And now I will get the baking area cleaned up. I do need to figure out what I'm going to do with all my plants because during the winter they generally do live in the kitchen. I move some things around and switch these back into the kitchen. They get better sun in here for whatever reason during the winter, and it seems to adjust to their growth that's slowed down in the wintertime. The southern window gets way too much sun for them and starts to burn the leaves, so I adjust them into the kitchen and they seem to do better over the winter. But finding space for them can be a challenge. I think I really need to put some kind of a shelf behind my sink faucet on the window so that I can just kind of sit them up there and they could be up and out of the way. As you see here, I'm just really trying to work through where they are going to go. And I believe I do end up putting them, a couple of them beside the sink, and the other jade plant stays right beside the mixer. And I just realized that I forgot to include in this video that I cut out on my vinyl cutting machine some vinyl snowflakes, and they are all over the mixer, but they are just a tiny bit darker, and it was intentional, than the mixer itself. So you really can't see them unless I show them to you, because they add like just a subtle hint of winteriness to my mixer. Very pretty. I'll have to show it to you in the next video because you really cannot see it on here. So a lot of you might notice that the ice maker is back. I found a way to clean it. I never threw it away. I put it out on the porch. It never made it to the trash. A little bleach and a little extra scrubbing and rinsing and some vinegar. It is completely cleaned out and smells like nothing, and there is no more mold in it at all. I really hated to just throw it out when we had spent over $100 for it, so I'm glad that it's back up and running, and that it has a hidden clean cycle in it as well that I didn't know about. So if you're wondering, if you have the insignia, if you hold the start button down until it flashes, it will run a clean cycle, which you can put vinegar or whatever you need to put in to get rid of the dirtiness in the machine. Thank you for being here with me today, watching me clean, hanging out with me. I look forward to your comments. If you have not yet, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Until the next time, happy cleaning, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.